welcome to the Austrian residence. And if I may introduce, this is Tiger Lily. It seems she was born the 4th of July, and her mother is very young. She was a teenage mom, and it seems the little girl here was the smallest and the weakest of her first litter. So one evening we had a reception in the garden, and she would just have her in her mouth, and she dropped her on the terrace there and disappeared. And the little one was just 130 grams and still had her umbilical cord, and we didn't know what to do because the mother didn't come back. So, and we have some really wild tomcats here in the neighborhood, and they started hovering around the baby. And we needed to do something because we couldn't get the mother to come back. We had hoped that if she starts crying, the mother will pick her up, which was not the case, and it got dark. It was almost 11 o'clock at night. And so I wrapped her up in a soft blanket in a little basket, and we contacted a pet hospital that we know. And thank God in Ankara you find pet hospitals and good and loving veterinarians everywhere. And they helped me and showed me what to do. And I started bottle feeding her every 2 hours. She is now 11 weeks old. Once she turned 2 months, they started doing, the parasite treatment. They did all the tests that she doesn't have cat AIDS or other diseases that would be dangerous for other cats. And we have gone through the first round of vaccinations. And my goal is to get her ready for adoption. I'm a nomad. Diplomats are nomads. We go to different countries every few years. Pets, and also cats, although they can be quite independent. Yeah. And it's often said that they're not attached to their owners as much. A cat is a long-term commitment. They can live 10, 15 years. So it needs to be a conscious decision that you take that responsibility to have this creature in your life. And this creature deserves a loving home for 10 or 15 years. I live in a beautiful house here in the Austrian residence. I will be in Turkey for another 3 years. She will have access to a garden. But when I go back to Vienna, I live in a small city apartment with no access to outside space, where she would be alone by herself in a small space. Also, I travel a lot in many parts in Turkey, and she's like a small child. So she needs attention, she needs care, and I have found a colleague of mine, an Austrian colleague of mine, who is already a cat dad. He has an older cat. This weekend we are going to try to move her to his home, and we hope that the older cat, who is 11 years old, will like the little girl. And I hope it will work out. Otherwise she's coming back to me, and we will find a good home for her. That's what I have promised her. I know it will be hard for me because it was already hard to leave her in the pet hospital during my holidays. I missed her very much. I think I'm her mother goose, because I was feeding her with a bottle. She was with me all the time. And when you have such a small baby cat, you're everything for her. She had no digestion. Oh. You need to show her how to digest her food. You need to show her how to clean herself. So when she was a baby, after each feeding time, I would take a towel with warm water and rub her and basically imitate like a mother cat licks her. And that's how the small cats learn how to clean themselves. And so it's quite striking that when I call her, she follows me around. When I go to other rooms, she calls me. In the morning, when I go from the office upstairs, I live in this building as well. I say, Lily, let's go. We go home now. She comes with me. So she's a bit like a baby dog at the moment, and she talks to me as well. So she knows how to articulate what she wants. I know will make it hard also to give her up. I will only give her up for very good hands, that's for sure. I don't want to comment on the law in itself. The discussion it created and the emotions that were very palpable, it also shows how much people in this country love animals. And I think that is a fact that not too many people are aware of abroad. I mean, the cats of Istanbul are known worldwide. But it's only when you come to Turkey and when you see how people go out in the street to give stray dogs and animals food, to take care of them, you know, to give them, to pet them, and how many of these animals are relaxed and feel cared for, that is only something you learn about Turkey. I could understand that people felt very emotional about it. At the same time, in some of the cities, there is an issue with dogs that people are afraid of because they've developed into big groups. So they need to be taken care of. But it remains to be seen how this will work out. You know the dogs of Istanbul, the cats of Istanbul, and you see how people care for street animals. When you go to a place like Hatay, which was completely devastated, where tens of thousands of people lost everything. When I went back to Hatay, I knew the city before the earthquake. When I went back in February this year and I came back to the historic center with all the destroyed old buildings that were still there, people who had lost everything, they would come out in the evening and they would feed the cats there, you know, although they were scrambling to rebuild their life, you know, and that also shows you how committed people are to these living beings around them, and it shows a great degree of humanity, of compassion, and that is really admirable. You cannot compare the situation in Austria or Austrian cities to Turkey because you don't have these big populations or these big groups of dogs and cats visible that don't belong to anybody in the streets. We don't have that.